Adrenaline, Episode 1 Introductions. As the sun descends and the light fades, the night takes over. Below the city runs an entire network of subway tunnels, and among those used are many that have been forgotten and unmaintained, layers of dust along their lengths. A sound is heard amidst the silence. A figure in armor made of wool and steel gingerly walks along the metal tracks, with only their thoughts for company. As the figure continues walking towards an unknown destination, they stop and kneel. Examining the ground, it's revealed that a bear trap is concealed in the darkness. The trap has been left untouched, with nothing in its grasp. Seeing no change with the trap, the figure stands and continues walking down the empty tunnel. After what seems like hours, they arrive at their destination. A nice, cozy room. This area isn't as dusty as the rest. It's lived in. Another tunnel can be seen behind a ticket booth that stands in the center of the room. There is a nearby set of stairs leading to the city. However, it is closed off due to rubble. The latest torrent of challenges were pretty unforgiving. Patches of the metal walls reflect what sparse lighting there is in the tunnel, with some exposed areas even revealing tendrils of splayed wiring. The figure turns to check one last trap at the door, and to their delight, it presents a welcome sight. Dinner, in the form of a dead rat. Carefully opening the jaws, the figure snatches up their next meal before resetting it. Returning to the room, there is a fire burning earnestly beneath a small oven. It's sitting next to a damaged sewing machine, and as they place the rat into the opening of the oven to allow it to begin roasting, a reflection of light demands attention out of the corner of their eye. Turning to look at what it could be, they notice an unfinished coil of wire sits at the sewing machine. Letting out a long sigh, the figure moves to the machine, sits down, and begins working to complete the task before dinner. A short time later, the loud punching of the sewing machine fades from the tunnels, signaling the end of its mission. The coil of wire is then wrapped up neatly, just as the smell of cooked meat wafts through the air. The figure moves over to it, dousing the flames to let it cool. Walking to the abandoned ticket booth within the nearby area, the figure sits on a makeshift cot and pulls the top book from a close stack. Looking at the cover of Love at First Sight. Pulling out a Sharpie, they begin crossing out names in the book, replacing it with their own. Eloy Pindar. As Eloy is replacing names with their own, or a fellow player they've met, a loud sound of one of the traps engaging echoes through the tunnel. The moaning of a human fills the air. Someone was nearby. Eloy shoots off the cot and hurriedly makes their way towards the sound, completely forgetting about dinner. The sounds of life fill the night air. Away from the revealing lights above, a man can be seen tinkering under the hood of a car. A large duffel bag lies beside him, filled with old electronic parts. Parts no one would miss, nor notice their absence. Finding nothing, the man quietly closes the hood of the car before grabbing the bag and moving into the light. The drone following him captures the stature of a well-built gentleman, and the reflection of light bouncing off his metal arm. Scarring between the metal and flesh stands out and gives off the impression that implanting this arm wasn't easy. The arm was nothing to be proud of, a heavily damaged endoskeleton haphazardly covered by metal. This cyborg was Halcyon, a mechanic. His reputation as someone who could fix close to anything was well known amongst the others in his profession. Making one last scan of his surroundings, Halcyon begins treading away from the light with his companion drone following him, heading into a dark alleyway towards an entrance to the tunnels below. Avoiding drunk pedestrians and staying hidden, Halcyon continues along his path. A short time later, he arrives at an inconspicuous manhole. Taking care to quietly slide away the cover, he takes one last scan and then climbs into the opening. In the depths below, with only the light from his companion drone to see, he begins walking down the tunnel. The sound of parts clanging together in his bag echo all around. He smiles, thinking of his project and what the parts were for. Continuing to walk, Halcyon finds himself enjoying the peace of the tunnels, escaping the chaos of glass. All of a sudden, a mind-numbing pain shoots up his leg, causing him to stop. Glancing down, he notices the source, a bear trap. Letting out a pain-filled moan, Halcyon bends down to pry open the trap, but stops to the sound of someone running towards him. The source of the running is revealed to be a shrouded figure, Eloy Pindar. Hello there, he calls out. Momentarily forgetting about his predicament, he attempts to walk towards Eloy. The pain shooting up his leg reminds him that he was still caught in the trap. Do you mind helping me? I'm in sort of a bind. Eloy doesn't respond, and instead continues to stare at Halcyon, analyzing him. What's your name, stranger? He takes a step closer, awaiting an answer. I said, what's your name? Halcyon looks down at the trap and then back at Eloy. It's Halcyon Gar. Yours? Eloy ignores the question. What are you doing here? Halcyon begins to answer, but stops due to the blinding pain from the trap, which continues to sink its teeth into his flesh. I mean no harm, just please, free me from this and we can talk more, he says as he motions towards the trap. Eloy thinks about it for a moment and simply gives a nod, and the two pry apart the teeth, freeing the injured leg. It's Eloy. Halcyon turns, dumbfounded. What? Repeating himself, Eloy says, My name? It's Eloy. Eloy Pindar. With a smile on his face, Halcyon shakily stands. Well, nice to meet you. Eloy, do you happen to have anywhere I can rest my leg? Simply nodding, Eloy leads him to her home, the abandoned subway tunnel. The sounds of partying echo through the streets above the subway tunnels. A great portion of these sounds resonate from the Broken Spirit, a popular bar among the players. The name speaks true for many. Above the bar, the face and name of Bridget Castor appears on an electric billboard. Ms. Castor's name flashes on it, boasting an impressive title of number 1 on the leaderboards, with a rating of 49,950, the closest anyone's gotten to 50,000 in a very, very long time. Bridget was beautiful. She had brunette hair, accompanied with golden streaks, bright green eyes, and a slender body. It was easy to see why she was a favorite among the proctors. Underneath the brightening billboard at the entrance to the Broken Spirit stood Aaron Powers. He chuckles to himself. Now that's something worth celebrating. He enters the bar, searching for Bridget. Inside, the stench of alcohol wafts through the air and into his nostrils. Many players were already drinking the night away, some already drunk. Above the crowds, towards the ceiling, many drones roamed the area, recording the events transpiring throughout the place. Most of the tables are filled with players, but there is a set of rooms that lie in the back for those who plan to stay a while. Milling through the crowds, hunting for his target, Aaron pays no heed to the mindless drunks. He moves towards the back of the bar where Bridget is sure to be sitting in triumph over her ratings. He sees her fending off guys attempting to swoon her. Aaron confidently pushes aside one of the men claiming a spot next to Bridget. Hello. I hear you're quite the superstar. He flashes a grin towards Bridget, who only replies with a smirk, giving Aaron the cold shoulder. Come on now. You're not even going to talk to me? What kind of a gorgeous girl does that? Bridget giggles. She obviously found Aaron cute, and the alcohol continued to fog her mind, lowering her usual awareness. Aaron swiftly smiles. Look, why don't we go into one of the back rooms and get to know each other? How does that sound? Nodding, Bridget stands and with the help of Aaron makes her way to the back. Once the two enter the room, Aaron turns and silently locks the door, guiding Bridget to the couch. As he hoists her onto his lap, he digs his hands into his pocket, grabbing a length of cord. Bridget begins kissing Aaron and he kisses her back to keep her distracted. He slowly wraps his hands around Bridget's neck, cord in hand, and in one fluid motion twists his arms, jerking the cord tightly, cutting off her airflow. In shock, Bridget begins gagging and fighting, trying to regain her breath, but to no avail. His grip was too strong. The flirtatious look in Aaron's eyes had morphed into a cold, soulless stare as he watched the light fade from hers. Looking at her, he whispers, "Worthless low sit." My father was an idiot for sponsoring someone like you." Bridget's eyes widen at the sound of this, as her instincts kick in. In one fluid motion, as she had practiced 1,000 times, she flips herself and Aaron onto the ground, landing on top of him. Aaron was caught by surprise, causing the cord to loosen, giving Bridget much-needed air. Gaining some room to maneuver, Bridget elbows Aaron in the side, breaking 2 of his ribs. The piercing pain causes him to release her. Having escaped Aaron's grasp, Bridget gets up, bolts to the room, unlocks the door, and leaves the danger behind. Composing himself, Aaron exits the back room, looking around the bar, slightly annoyed. As he begins to leave, he is stopped. "Wait a second. What did you do to Bridget? She left in a hurry." Aaron smirks at one of the would-be suitors, and in response says, "She forgot something at her place and asked me if I would meet her there for a second round. I just satisfied her better than you ever could." Narrowly avoiding a punch thrown by the man, Aaron's face grows dark. "You've just made a grave mistake." He turns and grabs a bottle from the bar and swings it at the man's head. Upon impact, the bottle shatters, pieces flying everywhere, and the man falls to the ground. Aaron shoves the broken bottleneck into the unconscious man's neck, giving it a final twist, leaving him lifeless on the floor. In response to their fallen comrade, 2 other men surround Aaron, who kneels down grabbing a piece of the broken bottle. Lunging at the man to his left, he severs a major artery in his leg. As the blood sprays onto Aaron, he turns to the other man, clenching the shard as it cut into his own fist. The man turns to run, but he isn't fast enough. Aaron grabs him by the shoulder, turns him around, and sinks the shard into his eye, killing him. The bar was silent. Aaron casually exits, covered in blood, his maniacal laughter filling the streets. He may not have gotten Bridget today, but he will find her, and he will sit atop her throne. Aaron's mad laughter fills a nearby alley, where Anduin Roxley quietly practices with his rapier, thrusting his blade into the emptiness. He swiftly moves around the alley, never staying in one place for too long. Anduin moved effortlessly through the alley like wind, like a breeze. As he continues to hone and perfect his skill, he slams one final thrust into the air. Satisfied with his progress, Anduin quietly sheathes the sword. Despite the vigorous practice, he hadn't even broken a sweat. He pulls out his lute, grasping it firmly, and makes his way to the Broken Spirit, a bar that is the perfect place to play a tune or two. Making his way inside, Anduin quickly notices that the bar isn't quite as lively as normal. In fact, 3 dead bodies littered the main floor, as their blood seeped into the wooden boards. Looking around, Anduin knew that the patrons of this bar needed peace from whatever monster had wreaked havoc here. Finding a prime spot as always, he plays a small, harmless tune that flows through the air. As the bodies are removed from the area, people start to catch on to the tune and the mood begins to lighten. Noticing the well-received reception, Anduin continues to play, as he too enjoyed a good tune. In a short while, he had the entire bar once again lively and joyous, with lots of coin and drink flowing into his hands. A couple of blocks away from the Broken Spirit in an already crowded apartment complex, the tired grunts of someone training fill the deserted halls. Sid Vevar trains tirelessly, giving no mercy to a wooden dummy as he continues to pound the lifeless body, keeping his skills in hand-to-hand combat sharp. Sweat floods down his face as he continues to train for a while longer. There is never a dull moment for Sid. When he wasn't fighting for the life that he sought, he was training. A sharp jab sends the dummy's now headless mass tumbling to the floor. Ignoring the head as it rolls along the ground, Sid moves to a small table where a bag of food from the Golden Lantern sat. The Lantern has always been Sid's favorite place. It was one of the only establishments still run by humans. Something that was sorely missed in this android-filled world. Dumping the contents onto the table, Sid looked at the lone sandwich. Another bare-bones meal. Sid couldn't help but look at the agonizingly blatant rent bills. Sid and the apartment owner have come to a mutual agreement, and that is payment in labor. But Sid couldn't help but feel bad. If I simply had money, I wouldn't have to live like this. Those damned proctors and their bastardized system. They are the reasons for these hardships. Thoughts like these ran through Sid's mind daily. Maybe this was his motivation to win a better life. Placing his hand on his sword, Sid unsheathed his blade. Tizona, a bastard sword. Forged of scrap metal, this blade was the closest thing to a family that Sid has. His eyes grow glassy as his mind drifts to his daughter Uraka and the painful night that Sid was separated from her. It replays over and over. It was time to stop living in poverty. Maybe it was time to commit to the challenges, to rise and bring ruin to those who ruined him. Above Sid's apartment, a billboard featuring the face of Proctor Cascadian stands resolute in the night sky. Red Sparrow also stands resolute as he is adding an uplifting message to the billboard. The can's hisses and fumes filling the air. Sparrow couldn't help but to grin as he completed his masterpiece. The message? Fuck the Proctors. Accompanied by a dick painted onto Cascadian's grinning face. Sparrow chuckles. Enjoy your wealthy living dick face. He continues to whisper insults to the billboard as he hides the spray paint and slides down to the roof of the apartment complex, finding his way into Sid's room. Popping into the window, Sparrow with wide open arms looks at Sid. Quixote, the famous boxing champion, La Mancha. How are you holding up, my friend? Sid gives a kind smile. Hey Sparrow, I'm doing well. You're staying busy, I hope? His smile widens as he notices Red Sparrow's paint-stained hands. La Mancha, do not say another word. Sparrow plops his bag onto the table, pulling out a bottle of liquor. Vorax No. 9. Proctor's recently banned this, so I snagged a bottle or two. Red Sparrow couldn't contain his excitement as he pops open the bottle. I say, Sid, let's toast in remembrance of the... He quieted his voice. The Red Fist Society. Pulling 2 glasses out of his bag, he pours the contents of the bottles for both of them. Sid smiles. To the Red Fist Society. Clinking their glasses, the 2 friends drink. Red Sparrow pours seconds, thirds, and then fourths. Soon the 2 were not only drunk, but were as lively as ever. Quixote, listen. Do you still have that old robot? Sid laughs. Yeah, why? Sparrow stands, stumbling towards the robot's resting place. The great La Mancha is going to fight a robot, like the old days. Sid didn't resist. Go ahead, go ahead. As Red Sparrow pulled the robot from its corner, Sid thought back to his days in the Red Fist Society. And it gave him happiness. It gave him fulfillment. Below Sid and Sparrow, within a different part of the seemingly abandoned subway tunnels, yet another soul lives down below. The clash of wood on wood emits through a room within the tunnels. It is there that Red Maru trains earnestly. His face is shielded by a mask that rarely ever left its place. It was a part of him. Finishing his training, Maru sets aside the wooden blade before heading to the makeshift shower that he has set up. His clothes are drenched in sweat, but he proceeds to strip off everything but his mask and begins to rinse it all off. It's a relaxing time for him as always after an intense training session. He shuts off the water, dries himself off, and dons on a fresh set of clothing before heading up the ladder into the thick of glass. Outside, hidden inside a broken down garage, lies Maru's greatest possession, his motorbike. It has seen better days and other people would have junked it by now, but it's been through thick and thin by Maru's side, which is something to be valued in this world. He slides into the seat of the motorcycle, grinning as the old engine roars to life. He checks his watch to see what the latest challenges are. picks one that looks good, and speeds off into the night. Finding a nearby subway staircase, Maru effortlessly glides his bike down and into the tunnels. The air whipped around his masked face, and he felt something that most people confined in this lower city don't. It was freedom, a precious commodity not commonly found in this world, a commodity that he would take away from the proctors. High above the city, on a construction site of an unfinished tower, sits a large brute of a man. 400 pounds of pure muscle, he was a finely tuned killing machine. As he sat dangerously on the metal beam staring out into the city, a gentle tune whistled out from his lips. His hand was as red as blood as he ate some form of a sandwich. Finishing the food, the brute hopped down to the unfinished floor of the tower. Walking towards a moving bag, he chuckles. "Do not worry, friend. Everything will be alright. You're safe now." As he says this, he unzips the bag, revealing a frazzled man known as Martin Langston, a prominent player in number 15 on the leaderboard. "You know, Martin, you're a popular player, and I'm kind of jealous." Martin, horrified, began backing away. Please, what are you going to do to me? I'm 15th on the leaderboard. I'm supposed to be untouchable." Pulling out a large hunting knife, Teddy follows. You'd like that, wouldn't you?" Martin stands on shaking legs, taking a fighting stance. "Who are you, psycho?" The brute gave a big, toothy grin. "The name's Bear. Teddy Bear." Teddy lunges forward at his opponent with a fierce animosity cutting deep into Martin's chest. Before making the final blow, however, Teddy froze. Dropping the knife, his eyes begin tearing up as he grabs Martin into a tight bear hug. "It'll be alright. Everything's fine. We can be friends." Bear stroked Martin's hair, holding him tighter with each word. Martin fights to get out of Teddy's grasp. "What's wrong with you, freak?" But to no avail as Teddy begins to laugh. I guess I was hoping for too much." His laughter morphs into tears as he holds Martin tighter and tighter in a bear hug before releasing him. "Let's fight, Martin. But not with words, with actions." Teddy tosses the knife at his feet. "I won't be needing this. No, sir, not at all." Martin gave a sickly smile. "Big mistake, you dumb animal." Martin lashed out hard with all of his strength, only to realize he felt no impact. Teddy had sidestepped the attack. "Is that all you got, number 15? Mr. Untouchable?" Angrier than before, Martin strikes again, only to miss a second time. "Hold still, you Martin never spoke another word again, as Teddy slams his fist square into his face. Martin hits the floor with a thud, unconscious. "What a shame. Thought number 15 would be stronger." Teddy turns to his companion drone. "Listen up, proctors. Your favorites suck. But no worries. Teddy's here now." Facing the body, he smiles. "Meat always tastes best when fresh." A ghostly, pale street performer is putting on a show. However, she is barely able to maintain her act, as it is obvious that she hasn't had proper nutrition in weeks. The act is mainly drawing attention from those who would try to steal the ragged, torn clothing that barely keeps her warm. A passing couple gives her pitiful glances and a small amount of credits, but it's not even enough to purchase a cold loaf of bread. A disheartened Lana has quits partway through her performance and, with her meager earnings, shuffles into a nearby alley that she calls home. Hunger gnaws at her stomach and thirst burns her dry throat, though Lana is used to these feelings. She has struggled through life for as long as she can remember. Earning a living from sponsors has never been an option. A proctor-sponsored life has never been what she has wanted to do, not wanted to live. She has avoided doing challenges for as long as possible, trying to earn a living with her street performances. Clearly, she has failed. Lana's companion drone is hovering around and catches glimpses of her deep blue eyes. It records the tears streaking down her face as she pulls out a locket that holds the face of her brother, her beloved brother, whose life was lost during a challenge. With hope fading quickly in her soul, she glances up at the leaderboard. Just as Martin Langston's name disappears, the spot empty for the moment, before it updates in the morning. Lana Hess. She can see her name on the billboard for just a moment, filling that empty spot. This sparks a new hunger inside her, one to win, to achieve victory, and to prove that she can be so much more. The fan spins endlessly, hanging from the ceiling of the large office. Elias Hoffman, CEO of Spartan Corp, stands inside his office, staring out a large wall of glass, revealing the upper city in all of its glory. Beautiful, slender buildings surrounded by busy but uniform streets, and a lush park in the distance. The upper city truly is a beautiful place to live. Elias turns back to his desk where a cascade of paper lay unorganized. Some of the most important proctors in Glass had asked Elias to prepare an army for an invasion. When he questioned who the invasion was targeting, the proctors had given no answer. Just demands for obedience. Elias couldn't argue with the proctors, for even Spartan Corps were weak when compared to them. Taking a seat, he begins to rearrange the papers, just as a respectful knock resonates from the office door. Enter. Elias never looks at the door. He's always focusing on other things. The door reveals Elias's close friend and ally, Jarrett Vanguard. Mr. Hoffman, we have a slight issue that needs your assistance. Elias glances up. What's the problem, Vanguard? Well, sir, it appears that some associates of Dahmer Depot are having issues with cleaning up after a recent Spartan Corps mission, and they're requesting our assistance. Elias nods, quickly standing and donning his coat. Well, we better get going then. Daytime is being wasted. The helicopter roars ferociously as it flies away from the upper city, towards the lower city. Oasis grew smaller and smaller as the helicopter drew closer to a land of despair. So Jarrett, what was Dahmer Depot's problem? Elias's voice was quickly lost to the noise of the chopper. As it flew closer to its destination, Elias began to get the feeling that something was wrong. Looking around, there was no signs of any other Spartan Corps troops or employees of Dahmer Depot. Vanguard, what's going on? Elias turned to find Jarrett pointing an ESB rifle at him. Listen, Elias, please understand that there is no hard feelings. You've done everything you could, but you're not the future of Spartan Corps. The company will be better under someone else's leadership. Jarrett levels the gun, aiming at Elias's gut before firing. Elias, with almost no time to react, rolls off the helicopter, barely avoiding the shot. Hanging onto the side of the floor, Elias begins to pull himself up. With a smirk, Jarrett walks over. Elias, welcome to Adrenaline. Spartan Corps is in good hands, and kicks Elias in the face, sending him plummeting to the ground below. As Elias lands on a mountain of trash, the helicopter flew further and further away, leaving him behind. He slowly stands, his body sore from the fall. Looking around, it begins to dawn on him. He was no longer watching adrenaline from the safety of his home. No. Elias realizes that he was a part of adrenaline now. That's it for episode 1 of Adrenaline. Thanks for joining us. If you want to become a player or part of the community, feel free to drop into the description box below where we will have a link to the website.